So in 2011, you release a CD and DVD combo. So this is Peter Katz and Friends live at the Music Gallery. Where did the idea of releasing a live album and DVD come from? And this is an important one because this is where the Juno nomination comes in. So where did the idea come from? And what does that Juno nomination mean to you, knowing that your country, the equivalent of the Grammys here in Canada, your country acknowledges your hard work and your talents?
Well, this is a very funny story. So I was simply doing a live concert, but I had opened for Glenn by that point. And when I opened for Glenn that night, I think I sold 250 albums or something, and it was in Toronto. And so I all of a sudden went from kind of trying to get my friends and family out to a show to there was just a whole bunch of strangers that wanted to come see me play. And so I was playing at the Music Gallery, of course, is the name of the album, and I think it holds like 200 people, and I had sold it out. And so that was kind of a new phenomenon, and I didn't know the people that had bought the tickets, right? And so a dear friend of mine, Justin Broadbent, who does pretty much all of my album artwork, does kind of art installation stuff. So him and his sisters came in and had done all this cool art installation, and I had hired a lighting guy, and I was like, okay, I'm going to make this as an amazing show because this is sort of my level up moment here. And my mom couldn't come. And so oh, I want my mom to like see this. And so I thought that I would get the audio recorded. And so I reached out to a guy to capture the audio, and he's like, yeah, sure, $500, I'll capture the audio. I was like, great. And at the same time, I had been friends with this guy, Tim, who had made the music video for Posters. And I literally invited him just as a guest list. I said, hey, it was awesome working with you. Would you like to come to this show? And he's like, sure. He said, do you have anybody filming it? I said, no, I wasn't really planning on it. He said, well, why don't I just bring some couple of cameras and I'll just shoot this for you for free? And I was like, well, of course. Why I'm not going to say no to that. So he brings a couple cameras, shoots the thing. This other guy captures the audio. Another friend of mine, he said, hey, I'll mix it for you for like couple $100. So I think the total investment in this was less than $1,000. No intention of making a live album or a DVD or any of that, but it just kind of came together. And then I was, you submit your song, you submit your stuff to the Junos every year. It's just what you do, right? You just submit. And I remember I was on tour in the UK, and I was having lunch with some friends of mine there, and my phone was on the table and it was on silent, but every time a message would come in, it would vibrate, and it was possessed all of a sudden. It was like vibrating off the table, and I'm like, sorry, I think something's happening here. And I pick up my phone. It's like, you have 300 new messages. And it was like the Juno nomination, and I just couldn't believe it. It was not even a possibility anywhere in my brain that was going to happen. And it happened. And it's the reason I find part of this so humorous is because there's music videos and things and albums that I've spent 20, 30, 40, $50,000 on to create, and a deep amount of attention, intention, and strategy. And this thing that was kind of had no plan behind it is the thing that works. And I remember, as part of the Junos, the Toronto International Film Festival profiled like the people that had made like music DVDs and stuff. And so I literally was on stage at the TIFF Bell Lightbox, and my fellow nominees were Rush, Feist, Tegan and Sarah.
Just the greatest Canadian artists of all time.
Yeah, and David Francie, who I love as well. But like the people from Rush were talking about, oh yeah, we had $1 million production budget and blah blah blah, and they're like showing footage, and then I'm sitting there on stage, and I was like, I just made this to show my mom, and I think there actually is a lesson in there that the authenticity, the in a way the just kind of organic nature of it. I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm shooting a concert right now that I was just focused on connecting with the audience. I was just doing my thing and it happened to be captured. And I think that's why it was special. And that's why probably it kind of stood out and got the nomination.
It's so crazy when you looked and you were getting like 300 messages. Normally that's like the worst case scenario, like somebody
Yeah,
passed away, and in your case it was like the absolute best news that someone could receive.
it was mind blowing. And I also I recognized in that moment that that was a game changer as far as and everything that would come later, because every time I've been introduced ever since 10 years later, they say Juno Award. I mean, you said it too, right? It's like it's part of my thing now, and it's really helpful. It's incredibly helpful to just, I think all you're trying to do as an artist is just, like I said, you just want people to hear you. You just want people to take notice. Although I'd add one important caveat or distinction to that Glenn Hansard, I heard him say, he said, you spend your whole life knocking on the door of the world saying, hey, world, pay attention. Hey, I have this thing. And at some point, if you're lucky, the world turns and looks at you and says, what? And he said, your job is to make sure that when the world turns and looks at you and says, what, you have this ready to go. And so as much as it's awesome to have that nomination, I also see that you need to always be working on the thing so that when you do get the opportunity, you've got something that's of a quality that's worth noticing. Because you could jump up and down trying to get people to notice you, but if you're not ready when they do notice you, then that's when you got a problem, I think.